Yo, what is going on? PartTimerZack here. In today's video, I wanted to check out Honkai Impact and just kind of go over my thoughts and opinion as a newbie, and then just give my overall impressions of the game so far from what I've been playing the last couple days. Now, I did also want to test the waters and see if you guys are interested in this. We did do a poll, and it seemed like a lot of you guys had some interest in it, and then some of you guys didn't really want to see it at all. So I thought, you know what, I'll just go ahead and give it a try, maybe change some minds, or maybe just give you a glimpse of what the overall game looks like. But anyway, it's not going to replace any of the other games like Alchemy Stars or Punishing Gray Raven. It'll just be kind of included in top of that. So the main thing I wanted to talk about is the menus are just really super clean. They feel like I can kind of just glide through them. Now, that's probably in part the fact that it's on a PC client. It's not on the emulator BlueStacks. And I really feel like it's kind of cool that they have a PC client that you're able to download and definitely check out. So the other part is it's probably because it's been, 2016 when it released. So they've had some time to optimize it. The other thing I really enjoy is when I jumped into the game, I knew that they had like a Genshin thing, but I didn't necessarily know how kind of cool it was. And I really feel like it's kind of interesting to see that Genshin is taking a liking to the fact that Honkai actually came out before them, obviously, and it's giving them a little bit of a nod, even though, obviously they're from the same devs and everything like that. But it's cool that they didn't just leave them in the tracks with Genshin and they're like, whatever, bye, because Genshin is obviously super popular as well. And so it's nice to see that they're actually working together and actually collaborating in some aspects of the game. So if you told me that this game came out in 2016, I wouldn't really believe it, honestly. The cutscenes and overall progression of the game really feels like it probably came out in like 2019 or something around there. It really doesn't feel like it's that old of a game, and honestly that's probably because they've been working on it and really honing the skills of the overall game. Now, I will say as a new player, when you jump in, it is a little bit overwhelming, mainly because you have a lot of menus that start to open up, especially once you go through the first chapter, and it's just kind of a lot of information to take in. So the first thing that I kind of recommend as a newbie anyway, from what this helps me, is just working on the path to greatness. This is something that opens up a lot of information to you and just gives you a lot of like details about the game overall. It does give you some dorm cards, which we'll talk about here in a minute when we talk about the summonings, but it just gives you a little bit of a, hey, let's work on this skill level. Let's work on this weapon. Let's work on some different things. And then it gives you some characters, some different aspects of the game. And now the cool thing is whenever you go into it and you're kind of like, okay, what do I need to do next? Like, for example, I wouldn't even know what expedition was or how to get there essentially. But if you go to the menu and you just click go, you can see, okay, I can actually grind character shards and go from there. Now, it doesn't give you like the best characters. Obviously, it's just the mainstay or the main cast essentially. But it's kind of cool to kind of see like, okay, well, I can actually grind shards to boost my characters. And from what I understand, let me know in the comments for any veterans out there. If you go from B to A, that works. If you go to A to S, you can kind of grind. So if you like a particular character, you can obviously grind them up to like SSS. Now, obviously, you have some characters that are better than others, so you'd kind of want to work on summoning them. But if, for example, if you really like the base, different characters, you could definitely grind them up if you wanted to. And as a free-to-play player, if that's something you're worried about, you can definitely go in there and kind of boost your characters from there. Now, the next segue is going into the story. Now, normally I'd have a problem with this, mainly because it caps you. Essentially, you have to get to a certain level before you can progress. And honestly, I'd be like, okay, that's kind of annoying because I like to progress at my own speed. I like to be like not really held back. However, with the game being like so much content, so much to do, I kind of appreciate it a little bit, mainly because I'm able to kind of see, okay, well, what else can I do essentially to dive into it? So it gives you a little bit of a thing to dive into some deeper levels. And what I've been kind of doing is working on the path to greatness and opening up some different things and seeing what different kind of things there are in the game. So for example, you have this long list of menus. You can kind of just go through it and see what you want to do essentially. And that can get kind of confusing. But if you go into Path to Greatness and then, for example, you go to like daily prep, I don't know what daily prep is. So I click on it. Okay, it shows me I have 60 days to complete this. Looks like I have different levels. And then I click on it. I'm like, okay, so it looks like a mission. Looks like I get some rewards. And okay, well, let's go ahead and do it. So it looks like some different things that I can unlock. Obviously, you could just go through the menus and see what you want to do. But it's kind of cool that it gives you a little bit of a path essentially of like, hey, let's work on this. Let's go ahead and do this. And from what I understand, you get XP from that as well. So you're able to kind of progress there. Now, the thing is, they give you a lot of stamina at the beginning. And that's why I'm at 406 out of 100. I can't seem to play the game enough because every single time that I level up, it gives me more stamina. So I feel like I'm in an endless loop, which is nice because a lot of people like whenever initially they start, they like to kind of grind through it. So I can definitely understand why they do that. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is units. So there are a couple of units here that are the main cast, essentially. These three are the characters that you get for free. You essentially get them right off the rip. And then those are the characters you can grind for their shards as well. Now, this is a character that you get from the Genshin collab. It looks like they are free to play as well. You can definitely get them from just grinding the event. Now, this one is the Path of Greatness character. You can get her from just grinding the Path of Greatness. I think you have 60 days on that. So quite a long time. these trials here, it looks like they are trials for different characters. Now I know that this character is really good. There is so much information around this game, it's almost overwhelming whenever you Google something, because you just have years of information. So I always try to catch up with, you know, essentially what they're kind of portraying, and it looks like this is one of the characters you want to kind of summon for. However, I've learned that you kind of want to wait until 5.0 because it's going to be coming out in mid-August, and there's going to be some cool characters on there as well, which we'll be kind of doing a reaction to if you guys enjoy this video and going forward from there. So it looks like you have some trials. These characters are maxed out, so it gives you a little bit of an idea of what you can potentially grind to, which I actually kind of enjoy. I like to get a glimpse of what it could look like whenever I get to a certain point, and so it's kind of nice to see that these characters are here and available for those 3 days. So essentially you only have 3 days to play them, from what I understand, from the time remaining at the top. Now, one thing is the characters seem to be kind of like a reskin essentially of each character. There seem to be different variations of them and different rarities. Now, I don't necessarily have a problem with that as long as it's done well. And honestly, I feel like this game does pretty well because it gives you some different types. So if you don't already know about the types, you essentially have 3 characters you can jump in any story. And then you essentially want to have different typings to go against other characters and the different bosses. So essentially the bosses have a weakness to them, or, you know, however you want to word that, and essentially use the character that corresponds with that weakness. It goes over in pretty good depth about what essentially you can kind of look for. But as you can see, like, for example, this character, and this character are all the same, essentially the same character, but they have different rarities and different rarities, obviously, and then they have some different typing. So it looks like you're able to kind of work with what you want. So if you have a particular character that you really like, but you want them to be like a biotype, you could definitely unlock them or go from there. There are obviously characters that are like way better. For example, like her, somebody you really want to get, but I will get into that like later down the road. If you guys want to see more videos, we could definitely jump into more characters and different aspects of that. The other thing I wanted to show is just kind of the depth of the weapon customization. This is where I feel like where the game starts to get a little bit more in depth and a little bit more of what you can kind of do, which is kind of nice because I feel like I'm just scratching the surface of a really in-depth game. And I really enjoy that. So the weapons here, it seem pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. You know, you have some different attributes like this stuns an enemy and nearby enemies in a small AoE. You know, this one does a certain percentage of physical damage, and you can see that they do some different things. The other cool thing is you can start forging weapons, and you can start to get into an idea of like, okay, I'm barely scratching the surface when it comes to weapons. When you start looking at stuff like this, it starts to get to an idea of like, okay, this is what I can start grinding. You know, you can definitely like check out what the weapon does. Okay, I was hoping that it was going to work. So you can actually check out what the weapon does, see what it's looking like for essentially what you can grind for in the future. Each character looks like they have some sort of weapons that they can grind, and then they have variations to the weapon. So that's kind of cool. The other thing is they actually have what is called Stigmas. So essentially these are what you would think of like supply cars in My Hero Academia. The Memories and Punishing Gray Raven, essentially a set gives you a little bit more of a bonus. As you can see, they have a 2-piece and a 3-piece, and then they give you a little bit depending on the different things that you kind of want to do. So obviously you kind of want to correspond that with your character and what kind of typing the character is, much like Punishing Gray Raven is. There are some skins in here if you guys are interested. A little bit of customization, obviously, but not much. Obviously, you can't just go in there and like change their faces or anything like that, but you are able to get a couple skins. Now, some of them are locked behind an event, and I'm guessing as the event kind of comes out, you'll definitely be able to go in there. But they do have quite a bit of events, so they have a lot of stuff going on. They even have like a time capsule type of thing in case you miss something, and just kind of different currencies and stuff like that for that. So as you can see, there's a lot of information to kind of get going, but it is rewarding at the end when you start to kind of understand stuff and kind of go from there. So the one thing I really wanted to talk about was talking about supply. So let's go ahead and jump into this. This is essentially the gacha element of the game, and a lot of this stuff opens up as you progress through the story. I think I got to like chapter 2 about midway. I don't know if it was like 2.6 or 2.12 maybe. And then a lot of this stuff started to open up for me, and it gave me a lot of stuff to kind of look forward to. And then it gets kind of like, okay, well, what do I need to work on? And that's where the information comes from, the Discord or the wiki, and just kind of knowing what characters are the best and kind of what you need to work for. So again, this would be something that I would kind of work on. You have 60 days for this beginner banner, and you can see this is one of the characters that you really want. This is the character that I have the trial for, and she's recommended for newbies or anybody who's kind of working to get some stuff. She's a really good unit. However, the reason that a lot of people are saying no, don't summon on this right now is because the 5.0 update is coming out. And like I said, I will do a reaction to that if this video does well and kind of give my thoughts overall. So it looks like they are kind of suggesting waiting a little bit if you are a new player. You don't want to be spending these essentially at all right now. You kind of want to just be saving them to see what happens with 5.0 because you will have some time. Essentially, you have 60 days, which is a couple of months there. So it's not like this is really going to be going anywhere. There are some different things for the crossover. Like I said, you do get her for free, but essentially what this is for is just to kind of get the different rankings of her because she starts off at A, and you can obviously progress from there. And then there's some other different things for supply drops. So do understand that some of these though are like equipment, and it kind of gets confusing because it shows like a character and stuff like that. But if you go into it, these are actually just the memories essentially, or the stigmas, And so it's not actual characters. So just keep that in mind, because it got kind of confusing for me that I was like, oh, these are cool characters or whatever. But then you go into and you're like, oh, they're not actually characters. So just remember to click this little wishing well or any informational thing just to get an idea of what it is. Now, dorm supply is essentially the mainstay. This is essentially like what you want to grind on. Now, from what I understand, you never want to use gems on these. You want to use these dorm cards, and you get dorm cards from various different things. I think you actually get 5 at the beginning of the Path of Greatness, and then you can get them from different things as you progress through the story. And this is essentially the only way you want to ever get on this, because you don't want to spend the gems. You want to kind of wait for those to be on the premium banners for whatever you're kind of looking for, from what I understand. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into some summons, because why not? And then we'll just kind of see what's going on from there. So let's go ahead and just do 1 out of 5 here. We'll just keep going. I don't have a 10 pull here, unfortunately, but I just kind of want to see what I get. And I was kind of saving these for essentially whenever we dove into this. Now, I think I got, okay, so I didn't get too much of anything because I got a memory essentially, or a stigma. I'm going to try not to call it a memory because I'm going to have the terminology mixed up, but the stigma there, see if we can't get a character. I'm hoping for something special. Now, I don't know the animations. That actually kind of looks pretty good. So an epic, maybe. Like, I'm probably going to get something really good, and everybody's going to be like, wow, you didn't even react. And it's like, well, you know what? I don't know everything. So we're going to go through this. I think I have a couple more here. And the idea is that on this banner, I think after 24 polls, you actually have a guaranteed S rank. Yeah, so you actually have a guaranteed S rank, and well, I have in 21 drops because obviously it goes down as I'm progressing. And so that's kind of what you're wanting to work on essentially, is to get that main kind of S rank essentially. Okay, I got a shard, not bad, I guess. And then let's see if I get any luck on this last one. I'm not necessarily too hopeful after the luck that I've kind of got. Seems like this animation. Oh, I actually got, oh, I got a beat character. Okay, so I got some shards for her because I obviously already have her, which honestly is not bad. I guess that wasn't, you know, the worst thing, obviously. And then I get some rewards for just doing, you know, anything essentially. The other thing is they have a dorm room here. They do have some stamina that you can kind of get as you progress. It does refresh after a certain day or a certain amount of time anyway. And then you have some gold as well here as you kind of sit there. But overall, I really enjoyed the game. I've been having a lot of fun with it. I think the gameplay is really nice. I think the character and aesthetics are really nice as well. I've been kind of enjoying it. So hopefully you guys enjoy it as well. And we'll definitely see if, you know, if you guys like it and want to see more, we'll definitely keep going. If you guys don't, then I'll just kind of play it on my own time. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. I will see you in the next one. Have a good rest of your night. Peace.